Welcome to Coaching in Session, where limits end and growth begins.
Hosted by Michael Rearden.
This is your space to challenge the ordinary,
Unlock your potential,
and step boldly into your next chapter.
Your mindset journey continues.
One of the things I love to do is to use myself as the example. For example, let's say I want to lose weight. I'm going to show people it can be done. I'm going to show people you can start a career at any age. You're going to find love at any corner of the world. All of this is doable. All of this is possible, right? However, sometimes people, they get into a rut. They get stuck. They get this idea that what is possible for them might be either very difficult or the possibility is so low that it's infeasible, right? It's not going to happen. Where I can see how people that get into the mindset of having limits is because they don't have no direction of what their thoughts are saying or doing or believing at any given point of their day or their week or their month or their year or their life. What happens is we get into this thought process, this mindset of, I had it at once and now I don't have it anymore. And it's so difficult to get it. And I get it. I understand that going down the marathon again, doing the marathon again can be daunting. But it doesn't mean that you can't do it again. Think of it as when you were younger, maybe you could run 5Ks, and now that you're a little bit older, doing a 5K could be an issue, especially if you had some hiccups in life. You have a knee problem, you have a back problem. There's something going on where you're like, a 5K right now will be a death sentence. But when we start to look at what we have done and where we are, it doesn't mean that we can't be in a better place right now. It doesn't mean we can't. Oftentimes, our brain will dictate that that is going to be the truth, that we won't be in a better place. So if something was good when we were younger, it's not going to be good when we're older. Of course, there's going to be aspects that can be better. Maybe we have better relationships because we have learned. Maybe we have better money or finances because now we're adults and we can work, we can earn. So this is to say that there's going to be aspects of our life that we can look at in a positive manner. But oftentimes those things are not going to be the profound moments that are going to be the epiphany that wakes people up. Because if you look at some recent episodes of the podcast, and I'm going to name the numbers, 752 and 758. Those episodes of the podcast that talked about something very particular, like this is special in the sense of how we believe or how we view things. And it's almost as if you are trying to get into the center of an ice cube. If it's a small ice cube, one bite, one throw, a chisel here, and you're at the center. But if you get a huge block of ice, think of the block being, 8 feet by 8 feet. It's going to take a while for it to thaw. It's going to take a while for you to chip away at it. But it's not saying that it's impossible, right? One day that ice will melt, especially if it's not being preserved, okay? If it's not in the freezer, if it's not in a cold environment, if it's in the wrong environment, it's going to melt. This is to say that there's going to be wrong environments and that there's going to be right environments for the things that we're looking for. If we want to preserve the ice, we just have to make sure we're in the right environment for it. If we want to get rid of it, we essentially have to make sure we're in the wrong environment for it, okay? So that's the mindset that I want to be the foundation for what I'm going to say next, because what I noticed, and if you look at episode 752 and 758, and if you haven't been listening, you know what those episodes are. If you haven't, tune back to those episodes. I'll make sure that this episode is reflective to those episodes. Now, one of the things I have been thinking about quite a bit is faith. I've been thinking about how I was when I was younger, because growing up, I can, be fully transparent. I went to a Catholic elementary school. I went to a Catholic high school, and I went to church every single Sunday. At the time when you're in that environment, it is easy to be religious. It is easy to be spiritual. But then at some point, I said, my Sundays are going to be for me, right? And I'm going to still believe, but I'm going to practice faith or religion in my own mannerism. And so what had happened over the years was at some point I was super close to my faith, my religion, to God. And it was easy for me to hear what was good. And it sounds like you're schizophrenic, like you're hearing voices. It's not that. It's like a feeling, right? Like it's a good feeling. Like if you have ever been around a good friend or you had a good day, good event, you went to a wedding and it was so much fun. You're like, wow, that was so much fun. I wish it never ended, right? That's the feeling, okay? It was like these people I'm around, they feel so right. Like it feels good. You know you're in the wrong place if when you go there, you're drained after. You're like, man, that was exhausting. That was rough, right? I'm glad I only have to do that once a year. Man, I never want to do that again, right? That's the draining environment. We don't want that environment, right? But when you go to a place, and it doesn't even have to be like out of your home, right? It could be literally just a transcendent space where you're thinking in a higher realm, a higher vision. It could be the mindset, it could be the spiritual, it could be whatever you want it to be. But you're not just thinking solely at where you are, okay? The location can be one thing, right? But the environment can be everything. Because if I'm on a campsite, and we had a great camping site in Connecticut, it was over by Rhode Island, and they had campsites all around that you can figure out what type of campsite you wanted. Now, we had a particular campsite that we loved, and it was between two lakes, and it was far enough from the lakes where we didn't necessarily have to worry about a lot of mosquitoes, even though there were mosquitoes there. We didn't have to worry about it as much. And then we had great tree coverage from the pines. So we had a lot of shade during the day. And that was a really nice campsite, right? It was group site 6 or something, or group site 3, one of those, 3 or 6. And I would always go there and I would tell them, I have 9 people, I have 10 people, I have 15 people coming. And it was always basically, I hope I get it. Because sometimes they were like, well, we use our group sites for groups and you only have a group of 4 people. That's a family, right? So they wanted to give you a smaller campsite, not this huge camp spot of a couple acres. Well, the last time I went camping, we didn't get to that group 3 or that group 6 campsite because I just didn't book it in time and it was already given away. And I said, okay, well, what do we have, right? And they said, okay, well, we have these spots available. So I said, okay, that's fine. And we needed some electricity because I was bringing my grandmother and my mom. And so they needed luxury camping, not let's go into the forest and not have any power camping. So we had some electricity for the small things like to charge their phones and to blow up the air mattresses, things along those lines. But it wasn't so much of, hey, let's, have a TV going and watch a bunch of movies. Even though we did bring TV, we were ready for it. It's just we didn't have time or the will to do that. We were just enthralled by watching the campfire and making s'mores and cooking and dealing with the monsoon rain that we got that year. It was an enjoyable experience. So that environment right there was fulfilling, even though maybe my mood at the time, because of the rain and everything, it could have been sour. But just being in nature itself, when you come back from it, you feel invigorated. You feel like, wow, that is amazing. And most people don't feel that because they're stuck in a concrete jungle. They're stuck in their own place. And they're like, well, I can't hear, I can't feel, I can't see. I'm just stuck in what I'm doing right now. And so with all that being said, that's the foundation where now, one of the gripes I was having, because as I was saying, when I was younger, I was involved in all of these different things. I stopped hearing that good voice, that good feeling. I stopped to feel it. Now, this is not to say I didn't feel good, that I didn't look amazing, that I wasn't successful. This is not to say all of that. There's like a 6th sense or a 6th piece to the puzzle there, right? That unknown factor, that secret hidden gem of life, that if you can maybe master that, maybe you can find the things that are missing in your life. This is not to say that anything was missing in my life. It's just as if you don't know how good something is until you get it once more. I like to do it as, there's so many examples. My great grandmother, She sometimes would, ask us when we were kids to scratch her back, right? And you would scratch her back. And she loved it, right? Or I don't know if she loved it, but she was always grateful that we were able to scratch her back. And the metaphor for that is, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. And she took so well of care of us in the family. I just think of when now my kids or my family, like that idea of, the reciprocation of an act as small as just a scratching of back or patting of the head or whatever it be. My kid, he jumps on me, things like that. One day he's not going to jump on me anymore. I don't jump on my dad. So I know one day that's going to go away. So I cherish the moment, right? Where it's something that I look forward to, even though it's inconvenient, even though it can, get excessive at times because it turns to a whole war, a whole battle, but I enjoy it, right? And now this is the mindset here, because when you have something, you don't necessarily know what you have until you lose it, right? Because we can't appreciate what we have until it's gone, oftentimes. Unless we have Thanksgiving, unless we have a moment of gratitude, most people are not even grateful or gracious for the things they have in their life every single day, every single week, and heck, every single month. So that means people are just living in this self-centered world of this is just mine, okay? Versus I was able to get this, right? I was able to earn this. Let me appreciate this. This is why our materialistic things eventually just become another thing. Because the phone that I once loved, I might say, well, I love that phone, but I don't mind getting rid of it for something that I think is better. Now we put that into our relationships. Now we put that into our faith. Now we put that into our careers. We put that into our fitness. We do everything different in the anticipation that maybe it can be better. Some people leave marriages because they think the marriage is holding them back in life. They think that there's something else out there in life where they can be better, they can do more, and they are restricted in their current marriage. So they say, you know what? It would be nice if I could, be free for a while. And that was that freedom I was looking for from the religion. And it was so funny because at the time I was just living life, right? I was just doing what I wanted to do. And I strayed so far away. And it's not so much into the evil aspects, because you can see every episode of the podcast, morally correct, politically correct, the idea of that in order to be better, we have to be better ourselves, right? We have to do better for the world, our community, families, everything. One of the things I was struggling with at some point from me leaving when I was, 16, 15. So 15 years later, 20 years later, actually, 20 years later, I started to say, can I even listen to that goodness like I used to when I was going to church every single day? And I said, no, I can't hear it anymore. I can't see what's good. I can't feel what's good. I don't know what's bad. And I'm talking about the evil aspect of things, right? Of course, I have my intuition. Of course, I have my world experience. But there was that sixth sense that I started to lose. And it's almost like a language where they say if you don't use your second language or your third language, you're going to lose it, right? If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. The same thing with your muscles. If you don't use your muscles, you're going to lose your muscles, right? So that's why we need to get in the gym and we need to start building muscle mass. And this is not to say that we need to be bodybuilders or we need to be anything great like that. This is all to say that we need to keep on building on the things that make us strong. And faith can make us strong, right? It can make us super strong. And I didn't know what that was until maybe even today. Like it was really solidified. Because one of the things, if I had to explain it, as I stopped being able to hear that goodness, as I was saying. From the past episodes, from 752, 758, and now episode, 764. This is basically me saying that I have done the work over the past couple of weeks to pay attention. Pay attention to me, pay attention to who I was, who I'm becoming, and to see if this makes sense. Because most people, they kind of just go down life and they go, well, life is just happening. And at some point you look back and you have all of these missed years, all of these missed opportunities. And I didn't want that for myself. I said, I want to be conscious on what is happening. Okay. Because anyone can say, all right, today's Monday, going to make Monday the best day, or, I hate Mondays because work or whatever. Friday, they love Friday. I already talked about this on the podcast. Some days I don't even know what day it is. Is it Monday? Is it Friday? Is it Thursday? Like, who knows what day it is until I look at my phone, right? And my phone's going to tell me. But I mean, it doesn't matter for me, right? Because I'm doing what I want every single day. So it doesn't matter if it's Monday. It doesn't matter if it's Friday. All right. I don't need a certain day of the week to feel whole. But many people, they do. They need the weekend to recuperate. You're in the wrong place. They need Sundays, right, to feel invigorated. That means our mindset is only focused on one day a week of developing ourselves. And this is what I had to basically push myself into understanding, where even though I would go to church and have some belief there on Sundays, it was today, right, not Sunday, basically me giving the overload to something. Because right now you might be going to the gym 0 days a week. If you go to the gym one more day out of the days that you are going right now, if you go 7, then you can't go anymore, of course. But if you go one more day than what you're doing, you're going to be in a better place in 3 weeks. That's basically my testament. In 3 to 4 weeks, you're going to be in a vastly different space because it was just that small intention of just doing that one little thing. And this is the same aspect in coaching, where you say, do something super simple, stupid. Do the smallest step, the micro step, right? Just do what you can today, but you have to do something. Okay. So I started this idea because I was like, I can't hear that sixth sense anymore. I can't feel it, like using faith. I can't hear God, right? And it wasn't so much that I couldn't hear him. It was just that I stopped listening. I stopped listening to him. And I said, wow, because I wanted to build a persona. I wanted to build an ego. I wanted to basically build an armor that would be sufficient in the world. And it was, and it is still to this day. There's just something more. There's just something more. I guess I can give an example to how that more feels. If you're a parent, the more feels like when you do something good for your kids, especially when they're younger. Your kids are not going to remember the things you do when they're 2, 3, 4, right? Maybe 4, but a little bit. But if you're taking them to Disney World and you're going on all these trips, the only thing they're going to be able to know later on is, hey, I have some pictures from this trip or whatever. I don't remember it, but I can see my smile. I can see my parents smile. I can even look at the intention for what the trip was. Guess what? That can lead to good feelings. Of course, later down the road, when they're could be 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to teenagers, when you're taking them on trips, they're going to remember those trips for the lifetime of them. And of course, there's going to be some missed details here and there. But the idea is sometimes we do the things for others, but it makes us the best. And it's not to say that we do things selfishly because it's going to make us feel good. If I hold the door open for somebody, it's not so I feel good. It's not so, they have to say thank you to me and they have to be grateful to me or that they owe me a favor. It's not that. It's knowing that I'm holding up my morality. I'm holding up my character. Some people, when they see someone coming through the door, they go, oh, let me close it real quick because I don't want to waste my time. Right? Most people, they don't want to waste their time. They don't even want to listen. So what happened was I stopped hearing that sixth sense, as I said, and most people, they stop hearing what they have to do, what's right for them. It might be a small whisper, right? It's, small echo, maybe they hear and they go, okay, what direction is it? What did they say exactly? And sure enough, that is where I am today. Okay. 3, 4 weeks in, I'm starting to hear. It's not schizophrenia or anything. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling where I'm starting to hear, and I say hear, I don't want to say feel because feel is the emotion, right? I'm starting to hear that voice again that's telling me to do good, to be more, I'm loved. I'm here for you. That's support, right? That's basically what, faith was for me growing up. Religion was for me growing up because, there's nothing less than a miracle for the reason why I'm here today. Nothing less of a miracle. If you know anything about the inception of babies, it's a miracle that the sperm and the egg, they meet, right? That one sperm that becomes you essentially, and the sperm and egg that becomes you, right? That comes together, becomes you. That's a miracle. Out of all the millions of other options or sperms and, hundreds of eggs or thousands of eggs. Okay. So this is to say, this is all to say, your being here is a miracle. Okay. And most people, they take it for granted. They take their life for granted. They take their day for granted. They take everything for granted. Like the opportunities that they have, they take it for granted. I always tell people when they start to ask questions, it's not even about hearing things or believing in themselves or seeing what they're destined to do, because I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And I'm going to basically make everything cohesive, where if you're born, you have a purpose, whether you know it or not, whether you have completed it or not, whether you found it or not, it is there for you. There is something in this world, in this life, that only you can do. This is not to say that someone else can't run a mile. This is not to say that someone else can't be a teacher. This is not to say that someone can't, break a Guinness World Book record. This is not to say that. This is to say that there's a unique feature of you that you can incorporate into what you do. For example, teaching for me. There's many wonderful teachers, right? I can't tell you how many wonderful teachers there are in the world. But then again, I know what I got. I know my value in coaching. I know how amazing I am. I know my clients know that we can get some work done. The students that I've taught, they know that we get results. They could have got it with someone else, right? But could that someone else have done it exactly how I would have done it? No, they wouldn't. So this is all to say that we are on a path to a destiny that maybe we don't know yet, but it could have already been written, because this is the aspect here now. When you die, right, you can believe in heaven, you can believe in hell, you can believe in afterlife, you can believe in nothingness, right? The world goes dark. You can believe whatever you want. But what I will say is, if there is something that comes after, and it's not a reincarnation, if there is something that comes after, and this literally a meeting, right? And you're given a book, and the book is thick. It's like a phone book. And if you're too young, you won't know what a phone book is, but it's a lot of pages. So think of an encyclopedia, think of a thesaurus that's not digital, that's not on the computer. Like I'm talking about a physical copy where you can open it up and there's hundreds, if not thousands of pages, right? Where you can spin this page and you're like, wow, when am I going to get to the end? Now, in life right now, most people are just operating on a very small 70-page notebook. And they go, this is my life. And those are the same people that come to me and they say, Michael, my life is not fulfilled. Michael, I feel stuck. Michael, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know my purpose. I don't know my passion. I can't see what's next in my life. And the goal is to take that 70-page notebook and to make that college ruled a 5-subject, 5-star notebook. And now we're getting a little bit bigger because we got some pages to fill up. We got some things to do. Okay. And once we get to that point, we say we need more room. We need more space because we have more story to write. And so we create more story. And now before you know it, we have volumes of chapters in our life. It's not just that small book where we stay stuck, because so many people that will get a 9-to-5, they'll get a career path and they say, this is what I am. They'll do something for a while and then they stop and they go, well, I stopped it. I don't want to do it again, because they know how much of a struggle it's going to be. I know there's trainers that purposely do this so they can always be in the mindset of being able to work with their clients. And this is wonderful. This is a wonderful way to think. It's not saying that's good for your body or anything, but there are trainers that will go out, eat McDonald's, get fat, become 100 pounds overweight, and then vlog their transformation, saying, all right, guys, I'm this weight, I'm going to drop it. Let me show you how I'm going to do it. All right. And so they basically say, just because I've had it, it doesn't mean I can't get it back. And some people, they look at old pictures of themselves to go, oh, wow, I used to look so cute. I look so handsome. I look so ripped or whatever. And it's just saying that maybe there's something in your mind saying that either you can't get that again, or it's going to be a huge gap from where you are to where that was. And the work that needs to get done might not be important enough for you to do it. So in your head, that subconscious is saying, well, it's a lot of work. I don't think we're going to put any effort into that. So let's not focus on that. What I'm here to say is that there's a whisper that's telling you, and it's a whisper. It's like you could barely hear it. And I'm saying, if you can focus on that whisper that's telling you your passion, that's telling you something else to be, again, that grandiose vision for what you can be, you're going to be able to hear something amazing. You're going to figure out what you were meant to do in this life, in this world. I can't tell you exactly what you're going to do without coaching. And even when I do coach individuals about this, it's not an easy, simple, okay, guys, this is what you're good at. All right, let's just do that, because I'm good at many different things, right? You could go to Clifton Strength Finders Test. You can go to the shadowtest.com. And you can learn about all of the aspects of your mindset, right? This is great. I recommend everyone do that. But it doesn't mean that that's going to be your passion. Just because you're good at something, it doesn't mean that's your passion. I'm good at numbers. It doesn't mean CPAing is my passion. It doesn't mean me being a financial advisor is my passion. I don't want to do that. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. Do you love what you're doing? Can you say that you have heard a voice in your mind that was telling you to do something great and you have acted upon that? Because that whisper is literally putting attention to something that maybe you have once done, or maybe something you have thought about, because you can't run away from your future if you're trying to change. You can't. You can't run away from your future if you're trying to change. Now, if you're not trying to change, you can run away from your future every single day. And you have to ask yourself, do you want to change? Do you want to do the work? Do you want to go through the struggle? Do you want to go through the hardships? Do you want to challenge yourself to be better? If the answer is yes, then you know what you need to do. Of course, you can check out some of the episodes of the podcast I said, 752, 758. Those episodes link to what this episode is, this idea, right? This idea. If you find yourself stuck in this idea where you can't get past who you are right now, or who you continually try to be, right? You're just like in this loop, in this rat race. I encourage you, head over to revenconcepts.com, get yourself a consultation. And then from there, you can decide if you need coaching. In our consultations, we talk about all the aspects of what you're trying to think about, what you're trying to do. And then we are going to give you some actionable steps that you can take. And then you have some time to think about if you want to coaching. Because if I tell you that the best life that you can ever have is right around the corner, would you bother taking the steps to look around the corner? Would you bother taking the steps to walk around the corner? This is the mindset that you have to have. Most people say, that's nice. That's nice for someone else, right? I'm okay where I'm at. So that's the majority of people. So if you're not okay where you're at, continue to listen to the podcast, continue to read the blogs, continue to challenge yourself, read personal development books, and then see in time that you're going to be able to hear something within you, that soul speaking to you, that spirit speaking to you, that passion, that drive speaking to you to be more, to do more, and to do the thing that you were meant to do forever.